Hello, children. Welcome back. Children, I hope all of you are fine, safe, and good. Keep yourselves safe, children. Be good. Now, for the last class, we had introduced our topic, sustainable management of resources. We had discussed about the Ganga Action Plan. We had discussed about the coliform bacteria, which is found in the contaminated water of the Ganges, and what are the plans taken up by the government to ensure that the water of the river Ganges does not become more polluted. Now, in this chapter or in this module, we are going to study more about 5 R's that we all need to know in order to conserve our environment. The 5 R's that we are going to learn, how we can implement them in our daily life with the help of some examples we are going to study in this module. Not only that, a very important question that might be coming to your mind is, what is the need of learning this chapter? Or in other words, what is the need for sustainable management of resources? So we'll be learning about these two very important concepts in this session. So let us sit and watch. Let us go to our next topic, the 3 R's. What are the 3 R's that can be used or that can be applied by you to save our environment? The 3 basic R's that we can use are reduce, recycle, and reuse. Of course, many more R's you can add up now. Recover is also coming. Okay, so anyway, what is reduce? Reduce means using less amount of natural resources and avoiding their wastage. Don't use things unless you are in need of them. Don't use electricity unnecessarily. Don't use water unnecessarily. Don't use soil or don't damage soil. Don't damage land unnecessarily. So these are different means of reduce. What do you mean by recycle? Recycle means changing the shape or form of the objects that you are using into some other form so that you can use them again. The materials like paper, plastic, glass, metals, etc. Instead of throwing them off, you make some other things. And you can, instead of extracting fresh paper or making new plastic objects or making more fresh glass objects, you may recycle them and you may use them again. Our next R is reuse. Reuse means using the things again and again. Like when we go for shopping, we are buying pickle bottles or we are buying jam bottles or any other bottles. These bottles or cans can be used again for storing our things in the kitchen. So that is another way of usage, that is the reuse. So these 3 are the most important R's that are used to save the environment. They are reduce, recycle, and reuse. So what is the meaning of the word reduce? Reduce means you use less. You save electricity. You switch off unnecessarily when lights and fans are running. You switch them off. You save water by repairing some leaky taps. You don't waste food. So these are the common examples of reduce. So this you can very well implement at home also. The next R that we are going to learn about is recycle. What do you mean by recycle? Recycle means we collect the plastic, paper, glass, or metal items and recycle them to make some required things. So instead of synthesizing or extracting fresh plastic, paper, glass, or metal, this recycle definitely is eco-friendly and we are not using that much of waste things again. So we are saving on that. Now we go to the next R. What is that? It is reuse. In this reuse strategy, you simply use the things again and again. And it is much better than recycling because the process of recycling uses some energy, whereas in reuse, the energy usage is very, very less. Example can be taken as, instead of throwing away the used envelopes or the bottles and all, you can reverse them and you can use them back again. Okay, so these are the 3 R's. Apart from the 3 R's, 2 other R's are also in practice now. So here are some important terminologies. I told you, reduce we discussed about, reuse we discussed, and recycle. 2 new terminologies or terms you see on the screen. What are they? They are refuse and repurpose. What do you mean by refuse? Refuse means saying no to the things when they are offered to you. For example, you just say no to buy certain plastic products. certain unnecessary things which we love to hoard in our houses, collect in our houses. Let us stop that habit, because when you are refusing to do something or to buy something, automatically you are playing your part in the conservation of the environment. So that is a new R that you have learned now. Apart from that, one more R is there, that is repurpose. What is the meaning of repurpose? When a particular thing cannot be used for a purpose, it can be used for another purpose. Suppose we are buying some particular thing for our house purpose, but we are not able to use that. Instead of throwing it away, why don't we use that for some other purpose? That is called repurpose. Let me give you an example. Bathroom tubs, mugs, buckets, when they break, instead of throwing them and creating plastic pollution, why don't we use it as for gardening? Why don't we use it for growing some plants? Or why don't we use it for put a small ornamental plants, or putting some soil and seeing whether, or can we can also make biogas in that, or we can make a pit, or we can use it for making biogas. All these things, if we think, that is what is by repurpose. So apart from the conventional 3 R's, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle, we have learned 2 more R's today. What are they? They are refuse and repurpose. Refuse means saying no to certain things. Unnecessarily, I won't buy anything. That is called refuse. And what is repurpose? When a particular thing cannot be used for a purpose, use it for some other purpose. That is called repurpose. So I hope you have understood about the 5 important R's. They are refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. Let us see the need. Now, what is a need? You might be asking, what is the need of learning this chapter? Why? Is there any need? Is there any need for management of natural resources? Yes, very, very important. As I told you in the introduction part of it itself, that we have to keep it for our next environment. Population is increasing. Industrialization is more. Urbanization is more. More and more people are staying in the cities and towns nowadays. We are all consuming the natural resources. But then these resources, they are limited. The demand is increasing, but the availability is limited. So there is a proper need for management of resources. So what should you do? What are the steps that you can take for management of resources? First thing is judicious use of resources. Judicious means very wise. You should use the resources in a wise manner without wasting the natural resources. You should use them in a wise manner. Secondly, there should be a proper long-term planning about the use of natural resources, so that it is available not only for your generation, that means the present generation, but also it can be carried forward to the future generation. Third point, the exploitation of the resources should not be only for the benefit of few people, but it should be equally distributed. You might have studied about equitable distribution in economics. So the same thing, there should be an equal distribution of natural resources, so that the resources are distributed in an equal manner. Otherwise, what will happen? The rich people will go on getting richer. The poor people will go on getting poorer. That is not our aim. We should see that all the resources are being distributed in a uniform manner. And last, but the most important is, when you are extracting the resources, we should plan for the safe disposal of the waste and avoid pollution. Now, you are learning chemistry. You are learning a very important chapter in chemistry, metallurgy, that is extraction of metals. Now, when you extract metals from their ores, naturally, some wastes are released. Now, these wastes, we should know how to dispose them properly, and so that we can avoid pollution, and as a result, we can prevent the damage that can come to the environment. So I hope the need for management of resources is clear to you. Now let us go to our next topic, and the most important topic in this chapter, forests. What are forests? Can anyone tell me? Yes. What are forests? Forests are natural ecosystems. We have not created a forest. There is no man who can say that I created that forest. I might have built a building. I might have built a house. I might have built Taj Mahal also. I might have built some other offices or structures. but I cannot build a forest because forests are natural ecosystems. But what are they? Why are they called natural ecosystem? Because they are available in the nature. What do they consist of? They have flora, that is plants, fauna, animals, many trees are there, different types of trees, medicinal plants, etc. are available. And why do we need to manage the forest? Because forests are biodiversity hotspot. Question is very important, children. Why are forests called biodiversity hotspots? Those are the points that are given on the page. What are they? The forest helps to preserve biodiversity. You have already studied about biodiversity. What is biodiversity? It is the diverse forms of living matter or biomass in your environment. That is called biodiversity. Biomass means the amount of plants, animals, microorganisms, anything that is living. All these together, they form the biomass. So forests help to preserve biomass or biodiversity. Second point, the forests are the natural habitats of plants and animals. Can you imagine what would have happened to our wild animals if forests had not been there? So forests provide a natural habitat, a home, a shelter for the plants and animals. Forests provide timber, wood, fuel, medicines, fodder, etc. They maintain the ecological balance. They help to control the climate and the rainfall. They help to prevent soil erosion and they control floods. They maintain the oxygen carbon dioxide balance in the nature. So for all these reasons, forests are called the biodiversity hotspot. Children, this question is very important from your examination point of view also. Why are forests called biodiversity hotspot? Because they preserve biodiversity, they are a home to many plants and animals, they provide ecological balance, they regulate the climate, rainfall, they prevent soil erosion, they control flood, and of course the most important thing, they maintain the oxygen carbon dioxide balance in the nature. Okay, now the next question, next topic is, how can biodiversity be measured? Yeah, I told you already, biodiversity means the number of flora and fauna that are there in one particular ecosystem. So biodiversity can be measured by the number of species found there, the different range of different life forms. What all ranges do you see in a forest? You have small herbs, you have shrubs, you have trees, you have got algae, you've got microorganisms, all the smaller forms of animals that are there in the animal kingdom, about which you had learnt in 9th standard, all the different phyla that you had studied, annelidans, arthropodans, molluscans, all these things might be available in the forest. So you have got a wide range of life forms in a forest. So what is conservation? Conservation means preservation of the biodiversity that we have inherited. But loss of diversity, what will happen? Definitely ecological balance will be disturbed. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Why are forests called biodiversity hotspots, and why should we, and what is biodiversity a measure of, and why is conservation important? Because if we are not conserving our environment, the ecological stability will be lost, and as a result we are also going to be in danger. Let us see the next topic. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders of the forest. Now what do you mean by the word stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders in your house or in your family? Stakeholders means the people who are directly or indirectly influencing your house. They are called the stakeholders of your home. For example, your grandparents, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, you yourself, your brothers, sisters. These are all the stakeholders of a family. Let us take the example of the school. Who are the stakeholders of the school? Management, principal, teachers, coordinators, even the head boy or head girl who is there in your class, you students, the security, the Ayamma Chechis, all these people together, they form the stakeholders of the school. That means you might have got a rough idea about the meaning of the word stakeholder. Means they have directly or indirectly influencing a particular place or a particular institution or a particular organization. Same way, if we consider about the forest, Do we have stakeholders? Yes, of course. There are 4 types of stakeholders who are associated with the forest directly or indirectly. First one, they are the people who are living in and around the forest, the tribals, you may say, the Adivasis, you may say, who are living nearby or in the forest, but they are depending on the forest for their livelihood. So that is our first stakeholder. The second stakeholder are the industrialists, because they are always in need of raw materials for their industries, for paper industries, for medicine industries, or for furniture industries. They need materials from the forest. So where do they go to? Naturally, they will go to the forest to get the trees and then they use them. So industrialists are our second stakeholder. The third stakeholder is the forest department of the government, who are owning the forest and who are controlling the resources, because for them revenue is very important. They are depending on the revenue that they get from the forest. And fourth one is the nature and the wildlife lovers. You know, they love nature. They want to maintain the balance of the nature. They want to conserve nature in the pure form, and they want to preserve the forest. So they are our fourth stakeholder. Very important question, children. Who are the stakeholders in the forest? The first stakeholder definitely is a local people who live in or near the forest or around the forest. The second stakeholder are the industrialists. The industrialists who are coming to the forest for collecting the raw materials for the industries. Third stakeholder are the forest department of the government. The forest department, because they are also, maybe they are waiting for the revenue that they get from the forest. And fourth one is the nature lovers or the wildlife lovers, who are always worried that the biodiversity and its balance should be maintained in a proper manner. Now let me ask you a very important question with regard to this topic. Which stakeholder do you think is most important? Which stakeholder do you think is the most important? Or which stakeholder do you think will be suffering the most if something happens to the forest? I want you all to think about that. But let me continue. Yes, definitely it is the people who live in and around the forest. The people who are living in that area of the forest, they are only the worst hit if something happens to a forest. Let us take a forest fire. Suddenly a forest fire comes. The fire is completely damaging the forest. Naturally, all the trees and all the vegetation that was there is completely burnt away. Do you think the industrialist is going to be worried about that much? No, because if not this forest, he can coolly go and get his things from another forest. Do you think the government or the forest department will be affected much? Not much. Maybe revenue will be going, or revenue will be slightly lesser, but they also will not be affected much. Do you think the nature lovers or the wildlife lovers, they will be affected most? No. They will also go to another area and they will go and talk about that area more. So who are the people who are affected the most? It is definitely the local people who are living in that area, because they are depending on the forest for their livelihood. They get their food, they get their medicines, they get their wood, timber for making their household houses, for making their huts, for making their furniture, for making their bags, for giving fodder for their animals. For all these things, they are depending on the forest. Forest is a source of livelihood for them. So if something happens to the forest, definitely it is that first stakeholder, that is the people living in the forest, who are going to be affected the most. So we have to conserve the forest.